أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everybody. We're going to really just go very quickly because I know that we didn't start on time. So our discussion was on the line, if you remember, wa Khuzzan al ilm. We are addressing Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, Imams of Ahlul Bayt. We're saying Assalamu alaikum ya Khuzzan al ilm. What we had said last time is that Khuzzan are those people or those places where something is gathered, recorded, and looked after. Could be physical, it could be non-physical. Here we're talking about ilm and knowledge, which is non-physical. So where do you keep non-physical things? You keep it in the heart of a person. So the Imams are those who collect, guard, safekeep, and have access to this thing called knowledge, ilm, Khuzzan al ilm. Why do they have this knowledge? Because they are linked to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah has given them access to his knowledge. Allah has given them the way Allah is knowing all things, past, present, future. He's given them access to that knowledge. This is why we have in Hadith, Inna al-imam idha sha'a an ya'lama alima. From Al-Kafi, indeed, the Imam, when he wants to know something, he will know it. So they have this access to the knowledge of Allah by the grace of Allah. Allah has given them permission. No one can just invade Allah's knowledge without his permission. So this is not independent from Allah. It is dependent on Allah. Allah gives the access. Allah gives the keys to this treasure of knowledge, and he has given it to the A'imma. For more on this, look at last week's discussion, please. Today, we're going to look through just a few more points to really conclude this session properly on the ilm of Ahlul Bayt. The first thing is that when we say that they have access to this knowledge, it's different to other people. I'll explain. There's a few points here to explain. Number one, other people, can we access the ilm of Ahlul Bayt, the ilm of the Imams? Can we have a share in that? Yes, we can. We read books, we listen to lectures, we hear the Ulama, they share with us their knowledge. We can do research and stuff, we can have access to their knowledge. However, this depends on our capacity and our effort. If you make a big effort, you'll gain more knowledge. If you make a small effort, you'll gain less knowledge. However, the important thing is they are the keepers of this knowledge. They remain in control of the knowledge. And it's not like, for example, sometimes we let something slip in our speech and in our writing. Sometimes we say the wrong thing to the wrong person. Imams are never like this. They remain in control all the time. Nothing leaks out from them. They don't make mistakes in disclosing it to the wrong person. This is why you'll find in the history of the Imams, people will ask them the exact same question, but they will reply to people in different ways because they know and they are responsible with their knowledge. They know this man can only take this much. This man can take this much. So I can reveal more to him, and I can reveal less to him, and I can reveal more here and less there. They know how to do this. So they are always completely responsible and in control of their knowledge. Now, why we answered this question last time, but let me repeat, because this is one of the beautiful points. If they can know everything, then why don't they? Why do we find sometimes that they ask, where are you from? What's your name? Do you know him? How is he? Well, surely they should be able to just answer those questions themselves. No, that's not the way to look at it. The way to look at it is the following hadith from our 10th Imam, Imam Hadi alayhi salam. He says the following, Inna Allaha ja'ala qulub al-a'imma mawridan li-iradatihi. Allah has made the hearts of the Imams the place of his will, his irada, his will. فَإِذَا شَاءَ اللَّهُ شَيْئًا شَاءُوهُ. When Allah wills something, they also will it. They have such a tight, extremely amazing connection with Allah's will. When Allah wants something to happen, they also want it. They are completely in sync. It's not that Allah has to convince them, command them, or persuade them. No. Whatever Allah wants, they want. They are that close to Allah. They are that much in sync with Allah. وَهُوَ قَوْلُ اللَّهِ. And the Imam says, and this is explained in the speech of Allah in the Holy Quran, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. They do not desire anything except that Allah desires it. They do not will anything except Allah wills it. So they know what Allah wants them to know and doesn't want them to know. They know where it is within the path of Allah to know something and not know something. And we gave an example last week of the Camel of Rasulullah. If you want to know more, please listen to the session last week where Rasulullah, at one point he says, I don't know where my camel is. But when people started to challenge his prophethood, then it was in the will of Allah that he knew something to defend his prophethood. And he told them, hang on a second, actually, go to this place, my camel is there, the reins of the camel have been caught on the tree, you'll find it there. They went there and they were amazed that yes, the camel is indeed here. So there, in just a few moments, he changed from not knowing to knowing. And you can listen to last week's session for the full explanation. Okay, there are different types of alim. There are different types of person who knows. Here, we're not talking about alim as a scholar. We're talking about someone who knows something. There are different types of people who are knowing things. Number one, the first person, yeah, he knows some things, but he cannot be counted as the root or origin of that knowledge or that science. In other words, like us, they learn from other people. Okay, most people are in this category. Number two, some people, no, they are really the root and origin of that science because that science has flourished based on that person's thoughts and ideas. However, this person is like an uncontrollable spring or a tap. They can't control. So they don't have the ability to protect and safeguard. They don't have the ability to claim that knowledge and to not allow that knowledge to be corrupted. So you'll see many times in the history of human beings, people have made discoveries, but then other people have come along and distorted it. They have messed around with it. That original knowledge is not in its place. People have come and messed it up, come up with new theories, old theories, different ways of looking at it, and that original knowledge has not remained intact anymore. So some people, yes, we can say they were the origin of this knowledge. They came up with this idea, but then since then, other people have come in and they have corrupted it, or they have, made changes to it. So such people are like a spring. As long as the spring has water, it keeps on flowing. And everything spills out. It's uncontrolled. Unless you put a mechanism on top of it to stop it or control it or to direct it. Otherwise, it keeps flowing without any control. Most people who are geniuses, they're like this. They don't know when to speak, how to speak, to whom to speak. They say, no, look, this is knowledge. Here, have it all. This is extremely irresponsible. And here we have to actually look at some of our current people who speak on religion in the community, outside the community, academics so-called. They have no control. They don't know who to say what to. You can say something to people which is totally inappropriate. The way you speak to a child, you cannot speak to an adult. The way you speak to an adult, you cannot speak to an elderly person. The way you speak to an uneducated person has to be different to the way you speak to an educated person. But these people don't care. They just flow and flow. Yes, they may have knowledge, they may be clever, they may be intellectual, whatever, but they have no the responsibility of knowledge. And then you have the third group. These are people who, number one, they possess knowledge. They possess the knowledge of the secrets of creation. They know things that no one knows. Number two, they are the roots of the knowledge. They are the origin of the science and wisdom. And their ideas spread to other people. Okay? But number three, this is critical. They still retain complete control over it. And they can choose when to disclose and when not to. In our current situation, in our current day, in our society, we've lost this control. Speakers, people even on the minbar, they think, you know what, give everything to everybody. It doesn't matter, don't discriminate. This is extremely not in line with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. Ahlul Bayt say, no, be very careful. So we have an idea. Ayatullah Jawadi gives this idea. He says you have to do sometimes taqiyya with knowledge. Taqiyya. Why? What does that mean? It means keeping something secret and not disclosing things to any old person. Because at the end of the day, some people, they are not friendly towards us. They are not trusted. They have their own agendas. This could be a non-Muslim. It could be a non-Shia. Sometimes even a Shia. You cannot reveal everything because they haven't got the background, they haven't got the mindset, the knowledge, the attitude to be able to withstand that. So you have to be very, very careful when you speak to people and you share things of Ahlul Bayt with them. So Taqiyya is not just in our actions and beliefs, because it can also apply to other things. In other words, we are doing Taqiyya with our knowledge because we fear the knowledge will spread into the wrong hands. So a wise person does what is wise, and that is he shields or hides certain things from certain people to avoid issues like loss of freedom, loss of life, to avoid confusing people, to avoid disunity. Right now, you know things about people. You know things about your community. You know things about many things. If you revealed everything you knew, people would become disunited. We all know certain secrets, or we've heard certain things about each other. Should we go and blast it all out in the public? No. You have to take care. And with religious knowledge, you have to take care. What are you sharing with whom? What kind of things are you communicating to people? Especially in public discourse, we have to be ultra careful. Because in one public discourse, you have men, women, educated, non-educated, old, middle-aged, young, professionals, unprofessionals, business people, new Muslims, old Muslims, lifelong Muslims, recent converts, people interested in you. You have to be very careful. So this is a big point that he was making. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, An-nas a'ada'u ma jahilu. People are enemies of what they don't know. In other words, if you share something with someone who cannot fathom it, he cannot understand it properly, he'll oppose it. If you share everything about our religion, all the intricate laws on gender, on hijab, on inheritance, on the history of Islam, on certain things about Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, with people who don't have the required groundwork, they'll say, you know what, to hell with your religion. Do we want that? We don't want that, but we're going through that. People are confused left, right, and center throughout the community. Quran says, this is in 10:39, بَلْ كَذَّبُوا بِمَا لَمْ يُحِيطُوا بِعِلْمِهِ. They deny that whose knowledge they do not comprehend. In other words, you give them knowledge which is unsuitable, they will just end up denying it. They'll say, you know what, to hell with you and your religion. This is not what we want. قال الصادق عليه السلام ذكرت التقية يوما. One day, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, one day, Taqiyya was being discussed in the Ali ibn al-Hussein in front of Imam Sajjad. So this is about Imam Sajjad from Imam Sadiq. فقال, and he said, Wallahi law alima Abu Dharr, I swear by God, if Abu Dharr, the great companion of Rasulullah, if Abu Dharr knew ma fi qalbi Salman, what was in the heart of Salman, another great companion of Rasulullah, laqatalahu, he would have killed him. In other words, Salman was a much higher level than Abu Dharr. We respect Abu Dharr to the max, but Salman was a different level. If Abu Dharr knew what was in the heart of Salman, Abu Dharr couldn't take it. He wouldn't have been able to take it and understand it and fathom it. He would have ended up killing Salman. لَقَتَلَهُ وَلَقَدْ. But in the same way, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, he made them both brothers after the move from Makkah to Medina, when he made pairs of people and he made them into brothers. He made them two both brothers. بَيْنَهُمَا فَمَا ظَنُّكُمْ بِسَائِرِ الْخَلْقِ. So this is Imam Sadiq's words. So if those two were not on the same level, they were brothers by the Prophet, they were Sahabi of the Prophet, they've been praised by the Prophet. If those two were not on the same level, what do you expect about everyone else? Do you see the wisdom of Ahlul Bayt? Do you see how deep and wise they were? They're trying to tell us that, guys, you have to make a distinction between people and what you share and when. I do not agree at all, and I'm sure you do not agree at all, that in public discourse, we say everything to everyone, all our theories and all our things in our minds, we blurt it out to everyone. This is not right. This is irresponsible with the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. Now, the next thing I wanted to share with you is another hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam again. He says, regarding Abu Dharr, again, another hadith regarding Abu Dharr, he says the following. He says, Abu Dharr had contained such knowledge, ajaz an-nas. The rest of the people would have not been able to fathom Abu Dharr's knowledge. So in the first hadith, we were comparing Salman and Abu Dharr. Now we're comparing Abu Dharr with the rest of the people. People would not have been able to fathom and withstand that knowledge. ثُمَّ أَوْكَى عَلَيْهِ فَلَمْ يَخْرُجْ مِنْهُ شَيْئًا. So he was very careful and he never let any of this special knowledge out. He was very careful with people. They couldn't take it. They would have been ajiz, helpless in the face of his knowledge. They wouldn't be able to fathom it. So we have lots and lots of things like this. And he really emphasizes this a lot, that don't be so hard and fast with your knowledge that you share everything with everyone. Have some care, have some attention. This knowledge that has come from us from Ahlul Bayt is very special, but it has levels. It has levels, and not everyone is at that level that you can share everything. Be very careful. For example, we share outrageous things regarding tawassul and shafa'at and oneness of God and imams and ilmul ghaib and loads of things in the community we're sharing. Fasting rules and maraji and what they are like. And this maraja says that and that maraja says that. Be very careful. Be very, very careful. These things have to be dealt with a lot of sensitivity, a lot of explanation. This ilm is very special. This ilm belongs in the hearts of the ma'asumeen. From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we cannot play around with this. We have to treat it as very holy and be very careful with what we and the way we communicate this. Now, as a conclusion, I will give this final hadith from Imam Jaffer Sadiq alayhi salam again. Imam says, Laysa minna, he is not from us, meaning he is not worthy of being our Shia. Laysa minna, man adha'a hadithana. He is not from us. Who doesn't take care with our knowledge and our speech. فَإِنَّهُ قَتَلَنَا. He has surely killed us, Ya Allah. One who is not careful with our knowledge and our speech and our hadith, he shares everything with anyone at any time. فَإِنَّهُ قَتَلَنَا, has killed us. قَتْلَ عَمْدٍ, an intentional killing, not just manslaughter, but murder. لَا قَتْلَ خَطَأ, not a mistaken, accidental killing, but he has murdered us. So we are really, really in a very special position. We have access to this knowledge. We should not take it for granted. We should not play hard and fast with it. We need to be really careful with it. How we share, what we share. This message, I hope, reaches all of our respected ulama, speakers, zakirin. Most of them are completely on this path. They agree with this, they understand this, but some unfortunately are not. For whatever reason, we have a very healthy supposition, husn zan, regarding them. Maybe they are doing it with a good intention, but this is a wrong thing to do. I think here we will stop regarding the ilm of Ahlul Bayt. So the conclusion is that don't share everything. Take care whom you share with. Look at the people in front of you. What is their level? Because it can lead to misunderstanding, denial, and even disbelief and mockery. Why? Because that person did not have the capacity to understand these things, or maybe the first person who's speaking, maybe he misunderstood it in the first place. Maybe he's under his own ignorance and he has not been able to grasp the matter properly first, and he hasn't been able to explain something. So understand when, where, and to whom you are speaking. Then you can then that person can claim to be one of the Khuzzan al ilm, or a student of the one of the Khuzzan al ilm, like inshallah we hope that we are students of the Imams. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I think we have a few minutes to take some questions. Asking for your needs from the Masumin. Is it shirk or not? First of all, what is shirk? Shirk is sharing Allah and His exclusive things to other people. Sharing Allah and His exclusive things to other people. So for example, Allah's worship. We have to worship God. Do we worship other people, other things? If we do, then it's shirk. Believing in Allah being the most powerful. Do we believe other things are most powerful? If we do, then it's shirk. However, when we say that we are not believing in the Imams or the Prophet or anyone except as people whom Allah has given permission that they can do certain things, then it's not shirk, because we are not giving them that independent authority that we give to Allah. So that's the big difference. Once we understand that, then these things are not shirk. They cannot be shirk. Because what we are saying is Imams can grant us through their power because Allah has given them their power. They haven't got it independently themselves. So shirk is when we say Allah and Imams are at the same level. We're not saying that. We are saying Allah and Imams. Allah is on top, Imams are underneath. Their authority comes from His authority. That's the big difference between shirk and not shirk. So it's a very simple thing, but people get it wrong and they get kind of stressed and flustered by this question. But really, it's a very simple thing. Their authority comes from Allah. So we're not joining them with Allah. We're not sharing anything of Allah's with them. If Imam Hassan alayhi salam had the knowledge that his wife is going to poison him, then why he married her? Yeah. So we discussed this last week. Please look at last week's discussion. However, just to answer very quickly, Imams, if they used all their knowledge all the time, then they could not lead normal lives. Whereas they were instructed by Allah that you need to lead normal lives. Except at the times when Allah, He willed them to know something, then they could not act on that knowledge unless He gave them permission. So sometimes, as we said, they didn't know because it was not in Allah's will, and sometimes they did know, but they didn't have a choice. Karbala, for example, from his birth, from his childhood, Imam Hussein alayhi salam knew he was to be killed in Karbala. Prophet foresaw it. Janab Fatima spoke about it. Amirul Mu'mineen foresaw it. So then why did he go to Karbala? He was not allowed to act any differently. This is the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He had to act on the will of God. This is the will of Allah. And that is one of the tests that the Imams have. Another question. If Aimma gave knowledge based on Taqiyya, how do the Ulama know which of the narration applies to us and which doesn't apply? Imams gave knowledge. Okay? They gave knowledge to different people at different times, in different ways. That has been recorded. Some of it has been lost, but alhamdulillah, we do have quite a lot. So that has been recorded in our Ahadith. How do the ulama know what to share and what not to share? They have wisdom. They are also students of Ahlul Bayt. They have swam in the waters of the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt. With that swimming and that taqwa and that spiritual training, you gain knowledge and you gain wisdom. And then you decipher what to share with whom and when and how. Generally speaking, ulama are very careful. The general rule is amongst the ulama is be careful. You don't know the person in front of you, then just say something simple and basic until you know them more. Why alims, the great alims, have their special groups of people? Ayatullah Bahjat, he had a special group of people. All of the ulama, they have special groups of people because they know them. And they know in these special sessions, we can reveal more. But here, what I'm saying is the public discourse, the discourse from the mimbar, in the Imambara, in the Hussainiya, in the Majlis, where there's one speaker speaking to maybe hundreds or thousands of people. There you have to be very careful. Another question, is there any advice from Qur'an or Ahlul Bayt on what kind of knowledge we, the Shia, should seek and which knowledge we should stay away from? in the information age, all kinds of knowledge is out there from many different agendas. Is it okay if we recheck all of this knowledge out there? I think you have to be very careful. We are in a situation at the moment that we have too much information out there. We're going through information overload. I want you all to reflect on something. I'm going to ask a question. Just reflect in your minds. How much do you know and you receive every day? And how much are you putting into practice? What's the ratio? 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 50 to 1, 100 to 1? Like social media, Instagram, WhatsApp, clips, YouTube, these sessions, we are receiving so much information. How much do we actually act upon? So the important thing is, act on what you know. Allah will teach you what you don't know. Act on what you know. Allah will teach you what you don't know. Have taqwa and Allah will teach you. We have to practice. Otherwise, this knowledge is really just information overload. Follow-up question. So Imam Hassan didn't have the knowledge about his wife will poison him. Is this correct? No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that in this specific instance. In this specific instance, did he know? I believe so. Yes, we have narrations which say that he had foreseen this and everything. But he wasn't allowed to act on this. Yeah. So please go back to the previous discussion regarding knowledge, will of Allah, acting on that will of Allah, and you will get the answer, inshallah. Okay, another follow-up question. How do the ulama know which hadith applies on a topic if the hadith is based on taqiyya? Yes, they have the science. There's a very complicated science of hadith where the circumstances of that hadith are well known. So were the imams in, for example, a tricky situation? Were they under threat? Were they, for example, saying things not to endanger other people? This is all recorded there in the science of hadith. It's a very detailed discussion. But again, what I'm trying to say is really we are talking about the public discourse. So if Imam Sadiq, for example, went right now on the minbar and he had 1,000 people in front of him, and the 1,000 people were from different backgrounds, completely different backgrounds, okay? Would he speak about very detailed, scientific, philosophical, irfani things? Could they accept that? No. He would talk general. He would talk safe. He would keep people on a safe path. They would never jeopardize anyone's iman and anyone's religiousness through, discourse which is higher than the level of those people. What do we say to those who say taqiyya is lying and hypocrisy, like the Salafis? What do we say to those who say taqiyya is lying and hypocrisy, like the Salafis? Well, what do we say? We say that Islam allows taqiyya. When your life is in danger, you are allowed to conceal your faith. For example, we have in Ashab Kahf, they were concealing their faith for a while. So we have that precedent in the Holy Quran. And really, we have a logical argument as well, that when you are under duress, you are allowed to conceal your faith. The wife of Fir'aun is another one who concealed her faith. Mu'mina Ali Fir'aun is another one. And we have other examples. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.